All right, guys, this is an extra page that I put in you guys' packets to better prepare you guys for the test and in order to help you guys do that Unit 8 homework. So the nature of roots is also called the discriminants. Discriminants gives you the number of x-intercepts given a quadratic function. And you find the discriminants by doing this formula right here. It shows up in all three places. I'm going to add it to the top just so it's something extra you guys have. So it's b squared minus 4ac. That's the same thing that's in the square root symbol on the quadratic formula. So what happens is if you plug in your b, your a, and your c into that formula, and you get an amount that is greater than 0, then you're going to have two real solutions. So another way to say all these other words is two real solutions. So if you plug all of that in and you end up with a number that's equal to 0, it's one real solution. And then the last option, if you plug it in and you get a number that is less than 0, then you have no real solutions. So what it means by the solutions is if you have two real solutions, that means your parabola is going to cross the x-intercept in two places. If you have one real solution, it's going to cross the x-axis at one place, which means that your vertex is on the x-axis. And if it is less than 0, if you end up with a negative number, so again, if it has no real solutions, then it does not cross the x-axis at all. So what that means is if your parabola opens up, then the vertex would be above your x-axis. If your parabola opens down, the vertex is below the x-axis, so that no part of that parabola crosses the x-axis. So a few examples is we are doing b squared minus 4ac. So I have b squared minus 4ac. Now we also have to identify what our terms are. So a is always touching your variable squared, so our a is 2. B is always touching just the variable with exponent 1. There's not 1 in this one, so our b value is 0. And c is the number that stands alone. It's your constant. So when we plug this in, we have b squared minus 4 times a times c. So when you plug this straight into the calculator, you end up with your discriminant equaling negative 72. So your discriminant is negative 72 because that's negative, which means it's less than 0. We know it has no real solutions or no solutions. So when we jump to the next one, this one has an a value of that implied 1, a b value of positive 4, and a c value of positive 4. So when we plug it into our formula, again, it's b squared. So we have 4 squared minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is 4. When you plug that in to your calculator or you work it out by hand, you end up with a discriminant that is 0. So when the discriminant is 0, you have one real solution. So on the next one, number 3, our a value is 5, the b value is positive 2, and the c value is negative 3. So when we plug it in, b squared minus 4 times a times c. So when we plug that into our calculator or work it out by hand, we end up with a discriminant that is 64. So a number that is greater than 0 has 2 real solutions. All right, we're going to do one more of these together, and then I'm going to let you guys use the rest of them as practice. So number 5. A is 8 because it's touching your variable squared. B is 5 because it's touching just the variable. C, there's no constant added onto it, and there's a 0 on the right side of the equation, so we don't have to move anything to set it equal to 0 before assessing our ABC, so C is 0. So when we plug it into our formula, B squared minus 4AC, and we end up with a discriminant that equals 25. So because that's greater than 0, it's going to have 2 real solutions. So just be careful of the positives and negatives as you work through this. And that's all you have to do. Now, one last thing that I drew on the board in class that I do want to go ahead and put on here, because if you're watching this, you either need a revamp from class or you weren't there. So again, when we have 2 real solutions, it's because your parabola crosses the x-axis in 2 places. So those are your 2 real solutions. If you have 1 real solution, it's because your vertex is on the x-axis. Whether it opens up or opens down, your vertex is on that axis. So if it has no solutions, no real solutions, it's because your parabola is above the x-axis if it opens up or below it if it opens down. Now, again, these are a way just to tell how many x-intercepts it's going to have. In other parts of the unit, we have worked through the quadratic formula, we have completed the square, we have attempted factoring, all to find out that you can't do it and you have no real solutions. So this is your quick way to see how much you can expect to get out of an equation when you're working, before you begin working on it.